There's only competitive draft at the moment, which means there will be sideboarding, so we have to keep that in mind while drafting. Pretty pricey to enter, so hopefully we can make some of those gems back. I'm not super familiar with all the cards yet, so bear with me. Alright, so what's our rare? Sigil Sword of Valeron. Equipped creature has +2/+0, Vigilance, and is a knight in addition to its other types. And when it attacks, we get to make a 2/2 knight token with Vigilance. And the equip cost is 3, so this seems pretty powerful. Plus it's a colorless card, which is always going to be a nice first pick. Next up we have Gutter Snipe, which is okay, not amazing. Siegebreaker Giant seems pretty good. 6/3 trample can prevent something from blocking for 4 mana, so that's a powerful card. Enchantment that lets us draw cards if we control big creatures is also fine, but then taking a look at the commons, we've got an enchantment giving +2/+2, random 1 mana creature. Salvager of Secrets is actually pretty decent as well as far as commons go. 5 mana for a 2/2 that can return instant or sorcery from the graveyard to our hand. So that's a powerful effect. Child of Night's fine, Epicure is fine, Fire Elementals, medium, Naturalized Plummet, Bristling Boar, 4 mana 4/3, can only be blocked by 1 creature, and Giant Spider. So yeah, I think for me it's clearly the Sigiled Sword here. Keeps our options open and just seems like the most powerful card in the pack. Ooh, that's a nice one, Arcadus. The Strategist for mana 3/5, Flying Vigilance, rewards us for playing defenders, and our creatures deal damage with their toughness as opposed to their power. So that could be a fun build around. Don't know how great the mana fixing is in this set, and how difficult it's going to be to play a 3-color card. What are the other options? Don't have a ton of other exciting cards. Sky Marcher, Bloodletter's fine. Yeah, not a lot of other interesting options, so I don't mind taking Arcadus here. And then see where we end up. Alright, we've got a Ravenous Harpy, 3 mana 1/2. Can sack something else to put a counter on it, so this kind of goes in the red-black archetype where you can steal some of the opponent's stuff and then sacrifice it. It's a fine card, but doesn't go particularly well with our first 2 picks. We've got some mana fixing in the form of Rupture Spire. Not the most exciting mana fixing. We've got a Falcon, which is unexciting. Talents of a Wildwood, 2 mana enchant creature. +1/+1 and trample, and you can return it from the graveyard for 3 mana. It's not super exciting. We've got a Trick and Sure Strike. Strangling Spores is a solid removal spell for mana -3/-3 until end of turn. So we might want to pick that here. There's a Bloodletter, which is fine. Hired Blade, which is fine, although unexciting. And then there's also the Rocks Oracle, which would go well with kind of the Arcadus since it's a green card. It doesn't particularly synergize well with Arcadus himself, since it only has 2 toughness. And an Explosive Apparatus. So I don't think we want to take the Rupture Spire this early. Sure, we want some mana fixing, but I don't want to take its 3rd pick. There's a Rocks Oracle, which would go reasonably well with the Arcadus since it's a green card. That's about it. And then there's the Strangling Spores, which I think is just the best card. So I think I'm gonna take the Strangling Spores and keep our options open. I'm not super committed to playing Arcadus, so I'm just gonna take the best card. Alright, what do we have here? So there's some more mana fixing in Monolith. Reassembling Skeleton's a nice one, so it can keep coming back from the graveyard for 2 mana. Thud is kind of a fling for 1 mana at sorcery speed. Inspired Charge for a go white deck. A random 2 mana 2/2, Mind Rot, Giant Spider, Growth. There's a 4 mana 3/3 haste, which is okay. And 2 mana make 2 1/1s essentially. So I think on power level the best cards here are Reassembling Skeleton and probably Giant Spider. So I don't mind taking the Skeleton given that we have the Strangling Spores and kind of stay in black at the moment. And again, I'm not super committed to playing Arcadis. Alright, and here's a Macabre Waltz, which is a nice card advantage engine. Can return 2 creature cards from our graveyard and then discard a card, so you can discard an extra land you don't need in the late game. What else do we have? We have a Leonin Vanguard, 1 mana 1/1, and if you have multiple creatures, it becomes a 2/2 and you gain 1 life, so the gain 1 life trigger is nice since there's some life gain synergies floating around. Another random Falcon, 3 mana 3/2, a random Wall. I guess a Wall of Mist would go nicely with Arcadis, but I don't want to take a Wall of Mist this early. Another Salvager of Secrets, which is a nice card. Does go well with lots of instants and sorceries, like the Strangling Spores. There's a random 2 mana 2/2 with Vigilance, 4 mana 3/3 with Haste. So yeah, as you notice, lots of vanilla creatures, as we call them. Just creatures with some random stats. A 3 mana 4/2. There's a first act of treason we see for the red-black steal your stuff archetype, and then try to sacrifice your creatures afterwards. So for me here, it's either the Salvager of Secrets, kind of move into blue-black potentially, or just take the Macabre Waltz, stay in black for the moment, keep our options a little more open, even though I think on power level the Salvager is probably better, since I don't think we're interested in the white cards, and I don't want to take an act of treason right now. I think I take the Salvager, kind of hedge towards blue a little bit more, and it's also nice to have an extra creature to equip with our Sigiled Sword, since, yeah, we're not really drafting a Sigiled Sword deck at the moment, which wants us to have lots of creatures. So we might want to pick up a few. And what do we have here? There's a Doom Dissenter, which goes well into the red-black deck, where you can sacrifice a bunch of stuff. There's Elvish Rejuvenator, which is quite powerful if I remember correctly. 3 mana 1/1. Can look at the top 5 cards and reveal a land card to put into play tapped, so it also fixes our mana in a way. There's a 3 mana 2/2 Death Touch. 1 mana artifact that gains a bunch of life. It's not too interesting for our deck. And a Disperse, which is a nice bounce spell. Could just take the Elvish Rejuvenator, which could technically also fix our mana, and just kind of see where we end up. Could just stick to black, take a Doom Dissenter or a Macabre Waltz. I don't think we want to commit to any colors quite yet, so I don't mind taking what I think is the best card, which is the Rejuvenator, which can also fix our mana. And we might give up on the blue cards and end up in like a black-green deck. We might be giving up on black, end up in a band color deck, where the Rejuvenator also helps us fix our mana. We'll see where we end up. Alright, there's Ajani's Welcome, which is for the life gain deck. Don't really care about that too much. Inspired Charge, don't care too much about that. Could pick up a random Child of Night. And there's another equipment in the axe, which is fine, but I don't think we want another equipment when we already have the Sigil Sword and we're lacking creatures. So we could just pick up the Manalith to have some more mana fixing, and kind of build maybe a multicolor deck with a few ramp elements, which I don't mind. So again, our options are still pretty open here, not committed to anything in particular. There's a Fog. Oakenform, not too interested in that. Could take a random 2-drop. Could take a Mind Rot. Totally Lost is some form of removal, but it's pretty expensive at 5 mana. Would go well with the Salvager of Secrets that we picked up. Wouldn't mind taking the 2-drop here, just to have some more creatures to equip our Sigil Sword. Kind of all over the place right now, so we do need to find a little bit more direction with which colors we're going to end up playing. So I'm trying to evaluate which cards most likely to end up in our deck. So we have 2 good black cards, 2 good green cards, 2 good blue cards, and then 2 artifacts. And this one wants us to have a few extra creatures in the deck. The Sentinel kind of fits the bill since it's an extra creature to equip with the Sigil Sword. Make sure we have a decent amount of low curve creatures, and goes well with our green cards. Alright, what do we have here? Another Colossal Majesty, which I don't think we are gonna really want in this deck. There's the Epicure, which goes well in the life gain deck, which we aren't really setting up to be. Could take a Naturalize or a Plummet for the sideboards. So I think I'll take a sideboard Plummet over Naturalize. Alright, could take another random 2-drop here. Don't think we want the Infernal Scarring. Could take a Titanic Growth, I suppose. I'll take a 2-drop just to make sure we have a few, but we might not end up playing it. And now I might take the Hired Blade just to have some more curve fillers. Alright, so right now we look to be green-black with maybe some splashes, but again, we're not super committed to anything. 5 green sources is pretty difficult to come by, but still a nice card. There's a Gift of Paradise to continue kind of the ramp mana fixing plan, which we would definitely not mind. Don't think we're going to be an Enigma Drake deck. Suspicious Bookcase does go well with Arcadas, and the ability can definitely be relevant. So it's not a card I would mind having, but don't think we want to pick it first pick here. Then there's some random white cards. The Star Crown Stag, nice in an aggressive deck, but that's not really what we're shaping up to be. Aven Windmage, 3 mana 2/2 with essentially prowess, although it doesn't trigger off of artifacts or enchantments. There's a Lich's Caress, destroy target creature, gain 3 life, that seems quite good here. Solid removal spell. Submerged Boneyard, we wouldn't mind. Giant Spider, we wouldn't mind. So yeah, here's a pretty clear Lich's Caress, and then hoping to wheel one of these mana fixing cards or just a Giant Spider would be fine. Alright, so now we're pretty committed to black at least, so we know that. And we open another pretty good green card. Vigilant Baloth, 5 mana 5/5 Vigilance. I think that beats the Blanchwood Armor. And there's also Druid of the Cowl, which I definitely wouldn't mind. And the Woodland Stream, which would also go well if we end up splashing some of the blue cards. But I think the Vigilant Baloth probably beats Druid of the Cowl, even though Druid of the Cowl is certainly a pretty good card in green. But currently we don't have a lot of beefy creatures, so I think I want to take the Baloth here. And then hope to wheel... Probably not going to wheel the Druid of the Cowl, but we might wheel the Woodland Stream. Alright, what do we have here? There's Sleep, which I don't think our deck is gonna be able to take full advantage of, but it's definitely a powerful effect. There's another Harpy, which is better in red-black. Another Hired Blade. There's the Pioneer, which is quite solid in blue. There's another Wall. Omen Speaker is also fine. Sky Scanner, 3 mana 1/1. That draws a card with flying. That seems good. And there's an Elvish Rejuvenator. So right now we're looking to be green-black, maybe splashing some other stuff. Since, yeah, I definitely want to play this Caress, and the Baloth seems pretty powerful with the Rejuvenator as well. So we could just take a second Rejuvenator, make sure to hit those land drops and ramp, and then we can start looking for more expensive cards to add to our deck. We could take the Sky Scanner, which is just a solid curve filler that's always going to be playable no matter which colors we end up in. Don't think we want to splash an Omen Speaker necessarily, or the Pioneer, even though they're both good cards and they would go well with Arcadas. But I think we just take the Rejuvenator here, and then we can start looking for more expensive green cards to top off our curve. There's a Vanguard for the life gain deck. Reinforcements is fine, but not for us. There's Take Vengeance, which is a card we could even consider splashing as a nice removal spell. Dwarven Priests is okay. There's an expensive card in Frilled Sea Serpent, which we could take as a kind of curve topper to finish the game with, but hopefully we can pick up some better ones. Root Snare, again, a Fog we're not really interested in. and some random 2 mana black creatures. So I think I speculate and take this Take Vengeance, and we might splash a little bit of white just to enable it. And again, it does go well with Arcadis if we do want to end up playing Arcadis as far as white cards go. And I think we don't really miss out on much in this pack. There's another Macabre Waltz. There's a Dragon, which seems quite good, although we're not in red. So yeah, I think here we just want to take the Foul Orchard, make sure we have enough mana fixing, since this deck is shaping up to be quite the multicolor mess. So I want to make sure we have enough mana fixing so we can cast our spells, and we're not really giving up on much. Definitely wouldn't mind having 1 Macabre Waltz in the deck. Alright, and here we can take Woodland Stream if we want to. The other options are Neonate, which is quite bad. 3 mana 2/2 Death Touch, I definitely wouldn't mind, but it's not super exciting. Uncomfortable Chills, fine. Yeah, again, not much here. There is the Aegis of the Heavens, which is quite a combo with Arcadis, but I don't think we need to play bad cards just to make Arcadis better. So it's between the Woodland Stream and the Basilisk for me. Basilisk we're always going to play just as a solid 3-drop, or we could take the Woodland Stream to have some more blue mana fixing in case we do want to support Arcadis, and maybe some other powerful cards we can pick up later. I think I'll take the Stream here. Do want to make sure we end up with enough playable cards, so I might not take too many speculative picks going forward. This seems pretty powerful. It goes well with our reassembling skeleton. If we can pick up some of the other 2 mana 1/1 creatures that die and make a zombie, that seems good. Could take a Frilled Sea Serpent just to have those late game finishers that we're still looking for, but again hoping to pick up some better ones. And there's some beefy creatures here, Knight of the Tusk, but I don't really want to play double white cards in the deck. It's going to be already difficult enough to play all the cards we have currently without playing double white cards. And there's the Pack Beast, which is okay, but don't really want to splash it. So yeah, let's just take the Blood Divination and then try to pick up some more expendable creatures that we can sacrifice. Alright, so there's a random 6-drop here which we could play as a curve topper, and there's Giant Spider, which is always solid. So if we take a look at our curve, don't have a ton of 4-drops, so I definitely wouldn't mind having a Giant Spider. I think power level wise, Giant Spider is probably better than the Bog Stomper, even though we wouldn't mind having a Bog Stomper in the deck. Yeah, I think I take the cheaper card. And here we can pick up Submerged Boneyard. So the mana fixing is coming along nicely at least. And so now we can take the Sea Serpents to have some number of finishers. I think that beats Highland Game, even though Highland Game does go well with the Blood Divination, I guess. Just want to make sure we have enough finishers. Alright, now I might take the Wall of Mist, but I don't intend playing it. Take a random 2-drop. A random 3-drop. Alright, I'll take the Aegis just in case. Alright, we open Alpine Moon, which is nice for Modern, but not for what we are doing. Herald of Faith, 5 mana 4/3 with kind of semi-lifelink. Seems pretty powerful, but again, a double white card is going to be difficult to play. There's a Murder, which seems like a pretty easy pick for us, but let's quickly go through the rest of the pack. We've got a Rupture Spire, which we may or may not play, as a nice way of maybe fixing our mana. 2 mana 3/1. Pioneer again, pretty good card. Dwindle, kind of a Deep Freeze-like effect. Child of Night, Foul Orchard, another Rejuvenator. But yeah, we're just gonna take the Murder here. Alright, so what do we have here? So there's another Vigilant Baloth, which we could take. 4 mana 3/2 flyer. I think we would prefer the Baloth. Totally Lost. Macabre Waltz. Infectious Horror, 4 mana 2/2. Opponent lose 2 life when the horror attacks. Doesn't seem amazing. And then there's a Druid of the Cowl, which is, I think, the only other consideration besides the Vigilant Baloth. Just to have some more ramp. So, Vigilant Baloth or Druid. I think we had the same pick earlier and went with the Baloth. We may want to switch it up now and take the Druid. Again, we're definitely going to have to make some cuts here later and kind of figure out which cards are going to end up in the main deck or not. But I think we take the Druid of the Cowl here. Sure, I would like a Vigilant Baloth, but the effect from Druid of the Cowl at 2 mana is pretty unique. While you can replace the Vigilant Baloth with any number of expensive cards, and we already have a Baloth, I'm sure we can pick up some more random 6-drops that we can play. So I'll take the Druid now. Ooh, there's a nice green-black card, Reach, Death Touch. Another creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life, so that's a pretty good card. There's also Phylactery Lich, triple black for 5/5 indestructible. And you have to put a counter on an artifact you control. And if that artifact goes away essentially, then the Lich goes away too. But we only have 2 artifacts currently, and triple black's pretty difficult to cast. Then there's Doom Dissenter, which does go well with our Blood Divination. 5 mana, 3/5. But that's not really for us. Another Salvager of Secrets. I think we just take the Poison Tip Archer and then hope to wheel either the Waltz or the Doom Dissenter. And what do we have? Alright, there's a nice big creature that we can play to top off our curve. Colossal Dreadmaw definitely beats the other 6-drops we've seen so far. And then giving up on a Giant Spider. Colossal Majesty, but again we don't have a ton of creatures to go with it. And then not giving up on much. The Giant's better than the Dreadmaw, but it's red and that's the only color we're not playing. So let's take a Dreadmaw. Infernal Reckoning exiles target colorless creature. That's not really where we want to be. And Girapur Guy, 3 mana 3/2, that can make something unblockable. Or semi-unblockable, I guess. Ghost Form, it's pretty bad. Could take a random Titanic Growth. Or we could splash a Dwindle, which is also unexciting. I'm not super interested in Titanic Growth in this deck, so I guess I'll just take a 3-drop. Recollect, not amazing. Endurance, decent combat trick that can also save your creature from a removal spell. There's another Foul Orchard if we need more mana fixing. I don't think we want the Axe. I'll take another Foul Orchard. At least our mana's gonna be reasonable. Fraying Omnipotence, 5 mana sorcery. Each player loses half their life, discards half the cards in hand, and then sacrifices half their creatures. Seems pretty bad. Symmetrical effect. Ether Tunnel. Don't think we're the deck that really wants this effect. Bunch of white cards. And yeah, this seems pretty bad as well, so I guess I'll take an Axe in case we want more equipment. Could take another Rejuvenator. Sure. Alright, I might have to give up on the Foul Orchard since otherwise we might not have enough playable cards, so I'll take the Basilisk now. Probably not gonna play either of these, but we might be more in the market for 2-drops. Alright, we did end up with Macabre Waltz, which is nice. I don't think we want to play Oaken Form, but I don't see Splashing Anticipate either, so we might take the Oaken Form anyway. Alright, so Naturalize for the sideboard. So we've got a somewhat interesting deck, so did end up with a decent number of mana fixing, so we might end up playing most of the cards we drafted. At least we ended up with some removal. We've got Spores, we've got Caress, and we've got Murder, so that's the good part. We have some Death Touch creatures with Basilisk and the Poison Tip Archer, which is nice. And then some good defensive cards. We'll have to figure out the mana base, which is going to be tricky. I think we want to play the Take Vengeance to have more removal. And then I don't think it's a stretch to play Arcadus with the number of mana fixing we have. Don't know if we want the Frilled Sea Serpent, but we do have a decent number of ramp cards with a triple Rejuvenator. And then we'll probably cut some number of these random 2 and 3 drops. First off, let's see if we don't miss anything that's in the sideboard currently. Don't think we want Wall of Mist, even though we have Arcadus. Don't think we want to main deck Naturalize or Plummet, but my opinion on that may change in the future. So let's see. I think I definitely want the Waltz. Skeleton's great. Probably want to cut some number of Walking Corpse, but I guess Highland Game's worse. Sentinels, okay. Then we may just play the Axe to have something to put on these small creatures to make them more relevant. Hireblade is unexciting. So is the Guide. And I don't think we want to play Oakenform. Not sure about the Manalith yet, but it is a way to fix our mana as well and ramp. Blood Divination seems okay. Then double blue on the Salvager might be a little rough, even though it is a powerful card with all the removal spells we have, with the Spores, Murder, and the 5 mana Caress. But double blue might be a bit difficult on the mana, so I'm not sure about the Salvager yet, and I'm not sure about Frilled Sea Serpents. I guess if we cut both of these, then our mana becomes a lot better, since then we're just splashing blue for Arcadus, and splashing white for a Take Vengeance and Arcadus. It's essentially black-green with a very light splash, which seems reasonable. We might have too many ramp cards currently, since we're not really ramping into much. We have a Dreadmaw, a Baloth, and a Caress as expensive cards, and that's it. So yeah, we might have too many ramp cards here. So I'll cut the Manalith. Rejuvenator is probably still fine. And the Rejuvenator also combines nicely with our Blood Divination as an expendable creature we can sacrifice. I guess we don't need the Walking Corpse. So let's take a look at the curve. Lots of 2-drops. So we've got the Waltz, the Axe as a random equipment, Take Vengeance as splashable removal. And then Druid Cowl is good. And then a number of random 2-drops. Then at 3 mana we have Murder, which is great, the Sigil Sword, which is great. Basilisk is okay, triple Rejuvenator to ramp, Kirapur Guide, and Hired Blade as curve fillers. Then we have Blood Divination and Strangling Spores, which are good. Arcadus, Giant Spider, and Poison Tip Archer, which are good. Caress, Baloth, and then Dreadmaw. So our late game is going to involve the equipment we have, the Marauder's Axe and the Sigil Sword, to kind of push through our smaller creatures. And I think that's an okay plan. And we have some card advantage with the Waltz and the Blood Divination. Arcadus seems like an okay finisher. Goes well with our Giant Spider and high toughness creatures we have. So I don't hate the look of this. Green-black splashing a little bit of blue and white. And then 17 land seems plenty when we have triple Rejuvenator. Question is, how is the white mana gonna look like, since sure we have triple Rejuvenator, but we still need to have a number of white lands that we can find with the Rejuvenators. So I don't think we're gonna get away with just the 1 plains. So I think we definitely need at least 2 plains. And then blue we have Island, Boneyard, and Stream. That seems plenty. Might even be able to cut the Island, since our only blue card is Arcadus. So let's cut the Island, double plains. So we have 2 white sources, 2 blue sources, and then we're just green-black. 8 black sources and 8 green sources. No, 9 green sources even. So our mana base is actually pretty solid, all things considered. So I'm happy about our mana. But it could be that it's unnecessary and we could have a smoother mana base without it. And then we could also cut the Take Vengeance and just play more 2-drops to go with our equipment, which would also be fine. Yeah, maybe we don't need Arcadas. I guess I could see cutting Arcadas, but then do we still play the Take Vengeance, or do we just give up on that as well? So if we cut Arcadas, we cut the Boneyard and the Stream, and then we could just play something like this. 8 black sources, 9 green sources, 2 plains just to splash Take Vengeance. That might still be okay, since we have the triple Rejuvenator, and then we get to play either an Oaken Form or another Walking Corpse. I guess we'll go with the Walking Corpse, since we have the 2 equipment, so I don't think we need to play Oaken Form in this deck. Yeah, I guess I could buy that. So just splashing white for Take Vengeance. Alright, let's try this. Yeah, we could main deck Plummets, but I think we're not super weak to flyers since we have the Giant Spider and the Poison Tip Archers with Reach. So yeah, that was definitely the other consideration, whether main decking Plummet or Naturalize was necessary. But I don't think we have to. And we are playing with sideboard, so we always get to side it in after game 1. Alright, let's just jump into a game here. And this hand seems fine. Rejuvenator does go well with the axe, giving us a body to equip. Ooh. Let's play the druid. Alright, I guess our opponents acquired their game plan, which could be pretty effective against us since we are a pretty slow deck. Alright, so what do we do? We've got 4 mana if we want it, which is enough for the Poison Tip Archer. Or we can just go Basilisk plus tap land, which I don't hate, since then next turn we'll have 5 mana, which is enough for the Axe plus Rejuvenator. Yeah. This is actually a pretty quick clock. Factious Horror, sure. Alright, so I think we just go Rejuvenator plus Axe. The other option is Poison Tip Archer, but then we don't get to do anything else. So let's lead with the Rejuvenator. Alright, luckily found a land. And then we'll play the Axe. And I guess we'll attack first. And yeah, I would have been very surprised had our opponent not blocked. Since this is pretty much the opponent's win condition, and we have to try and kill them before they win with the corrosion. Oof, Divination. That's a good one. Alright, there go our white cards, but also the Vengeance, so it doesn't matter that we milled the plains. Alright, so we just want to apply the most pressure we can here, which means playing the Archer and equipping the Axe. We are pretty ahead on board, plus we can deal with their next creature, so we'll see. Alright, 4 mana 3/2 flyer. Just gonna murder that and keep attacking. I'll keep the land in hand in case we pick up Macabre Waltz, if that's still in our deck at least. It is. Yeah, it's very similar to Sphinx's Tutelage. And their opponent had it on turn 3, so it's definitely scary if they have it that early. And there's the Sigil Sword, would have been nice. Ooh, that's a good one, although it is scary with a Psychic Corrosion on the other side. So let's attack first, see what happens. Yeah, it might be too risky to play this. We'll see. Alright, opponent kills that. So opponent is at 4. So what would it take for us to die? So this plus our draw step next turn is 4 cards, so that's 8 left. Seems unlikely that we die to the corrosion, so I think I'm gonna go for it. Alright, and we get to add a giant spider. Ooh, what does this do? Discard a card, opponent draws a card. It's pretty good. And we've got a reassembling skeleton in the graveyard. So opponent's tapped out, so we can just attack with everyone after equipping and they're dead. So don't need to show them the caress since this is game 1. Alright, so pretty close one, but we got there in the end. So quickly take note of what the opponent played. Strangling Spore is the only instant. Opponent did get to see most of our deck. Alright, so I think we want to bring in Disenchant. Since that is a pretty scary enchantment, and if that's their main win condition, then a Naturalize seems good. We did also see a Flyer. Plummet could be worth it. And then Oakenform is also consideration just to speed up our clock. Take Vengeance and the White Splash may be unnecessary here, since the opponent's mostly playing defense. And I guess we did see 2 Flyers, since they also had the multicolor one. So let's add some lands, bring back Plummet as well. And what don't we like? I guess maybe we can cut 1 Rejuvenator. I could see that. Or maybe the Hired Blade. Something like this. Yeah, seems fine. So we picked up 2 nice sideboard cards, cut the White Splash, which doesn't seem necessary. And we'll see how we do. Opponent did seem to have a pretty good deck, with some quality removal spells and draw effects. Don't think we can keep this. Alright. This is tough. Don't think we want to keep that. Alright, turn to Walking Corpse. Opponent's just curving out with a bunch of random creatures this time around, which should be beatable. But unfortunately we only drew our quality removal spells, which I don't really want to use here, but we may have to, since otherwise we're going to take too much damage. But it feels bad to use a Murder on a Tolarian Scholar. Alright, it's a cancel, sure. I'm pretty happy with this. And alright, found something to play. And we're probably forced to block the Scholar here. just so we don't take too much damage. Alright, opponent's got their own spores, keeps getting for 4. Alright, our draws have not been kind to us. Just needed something like a giant spider or a poison tip archer to stop the aggression. Oof. Okay then. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Look at all this nature. A master builds with ease.
I guess we lose. Alright. Could have maybe waited one turn to see if our opponent played anything else to give us more information. Alright, so they have Tezzeret in there as well. Alright, so we might have to cut the Naturalize after all, just to add an extra creature. I guess we add Hired Blade and try this. Opponent does have a decent number of removal spells, so Oaken Form seems bad. And we still have our 2 equipments, so I think this is fine. Alright, this hand seems okay. Do want a 3rd land, but then we have Rejuvenator to find land 4. So we have a decent curve. Alright, let's hope to find a land here. If we don't, we could be in trouble. Alright, nice. Let's get in there. I guess we can flash in a Hired Blade end of turn. Alright, so now we might have to play the Rejuvenator, but we'll attack first, see what happens. Opponent trades. Alright, so now we have a few more options for next turn. So this is a 4 mana 3/2 essentially. Alright, that's fine. I think we just attack and trade for the corpse if they want to, and then maybe Blood Divination on the Rejuvenator. The other option would be to just play a Basilisk, which is unexciting, and I don't think we want to use the spores on the Scholar of Stars here. Alright, I'm happy with the trade. Also indicates that our opponent has some good creatures in their hand that they want to get to, which makes keeping the spores better. And I think we just want to keep hitting our land drops here, which is why we want to draw some cards. Alright, nice. If our opponent has a Tezzeret here, we're in trouble. Instead it's a twin-headed or two-headed zombie for 2 menace. Alright, so 6 mana. I think I like Spider plus Sentinel here just to put more power into play, and then next turn we might Spores the zombie. And I'll happily take 4. Alright, there's a corrosion, which is not super relevant at this point. Alright, so we get to play the Basilisk, and we get to Strangling Spores here. So let's play our Basilisk. No Essence Scatters. Attack. And that's kind of the problem with the corrosion, is that if you play it late, then it loses a lot of value. And I guess we do this now to play around a cancel, which we saw in the previous game. Alright, so Don't hate our spot here, we still have a murder in hand to get rid of a blocker. And we're pretty ahead on board. Alright, that was a good one. But we'll discard Rejuvenator. Alright, let's hope they don't have another big blocker. And then we have to hope to draw maybe our equipment would be nice. Although there goes the axe. Still have our other rare equipment left in the deck. 15 cards in library, so I don't think the corrosion's gonna get there, but who knows. Macabre Waltz would also be a good draw. Alright, there's a Drake. That's okay. And a Dwindle on our 2-2. Alright, let's get in there. I'll keep the Orchard in hand for a Macabre Waltz top deck, since then we can discard it. Alright, if our opponent has any good leftovers, we're in trouble. Rise from the Grave. Yeah, that's a good one. This card's pretty powerful. Definitely one of the better cards in the set for limited. Oof, and we milled the Sigiled Sword, that's unfortunate. So yeah, now we're in trouble. We have no pressure. The Bale of the Graveyard. We still have our Colossal Dreadmaw that we could draw. What else? Yeah, not much else. And now this Corrosion's gonna kill us in a couple of turns. There's the Waltz, that's unfortunate. Alright, there's a Dreadmaw, that's definitely our better draw. They could have a cancel in hand though, but I think we just have to jam and hope for the best. Nope, no cancel, alright. So far so good. 6 cards left in library. So next turn we can attack with everyone. Totally lost. Oof. And now they get to mill it too. Yeah, that's a good one. I guess we get to get back a skeleton at least. Alright, so it looks like we're gonna die to this Corrosion in the end after all. But to be honest, we mostly died to this Symbiont. Okay. I mean, technically we could get there. Nope. Another totally lost. Yeah, now we're gonna be short, I think. So mill 2, 3 cards left. Draw 2 cards left, mill 0 cards left. And then we'll take a draw step and lose. Although this doesn't change it, nope. Yeah, super close. We needed one more card in library essentially to win. That's unfortunate. Well, this game could not have been any closer. Opponent mills us, and we're dead as we take a draw step. Yeah, the Psychic Corrosion got there in the end. Came just in time. Alright, so super close one. Opponent did have some powerful individual cards in their deck, like Deseret and the 6 mana 3/3 flyer. Alright, so we're 1-1. Super close match here. Yeah, essentially we needed to draw one of our equipments so our smaller creatures could have attacked through their stuff. Alright, on the play with the one-lander. Let's go to 6. Alright, I guess we'll keep. I hope to find some creatures. Otherwise this hand doesn't do much. Opponent kept the card on top. Alright, let's play our equipment, get to see it in action for the first time. Should be pretty powerful. Sky Scanner, that's fine. Alright, our hope is that we get to connect with our spider here. At least we already found our splash color with Take Vengeance. So if they can't deal with the spider, I don't hate our spots. See some black mana dwindle. It's actually funny since we still get to equip it and attack with it, so still get to make a knight here. Or we can play the Rejuvenator. So if we equip, we're essentially putting a 2/2 knight into play, which seems better than playing the Rejuvenator here. So let's equip. So we've got Giant Spider producing Knight tokens. And we can always equip our Knight if we want to as well. So yeah, the Sigiled Swords, quite powerful. Oh, my bad, yeah. It's Sir Spider now. The spider got knighted. Yeah, still gonna take it. How does a spider wield a sword? I mean, it's got quite a few legs, so I'm sure it'll find a way. I think we just attack with both, and then play Rejuvenator, maybe move the sword around. The problem if we block with the spider is that our creature dies because of the dwindle, so we don't want to block with it, since it's more valuable to have the sword spider going. Alright. So it's 3 mana to move the equipment, so just say go. Now we also have double black for murder. So got 2 removal spells in hand and a Macabre Waltz. And we're pretty ahead on board, so don't mind our spot. Hostile Minotaur. I think I'm fine using our murder on it, just to free up an attack with all the knights. Ooh, even more equipment. And I'll just send everyone. Yeah, Sigiled Sword doesn't seem fair. Opponent's at 7, facing quite the army. Ooh, that's a good one. But they couldn't pay the extra mana, so just a 3/3 flyer. That's reasonable. So we can move around both equipment here to still be able to attack with our knights. So we'll equip a knight. Then put the axe on the knight as well. And then attack with everyone that has an equipment. Suppose we could also attack with 2/2 knights, since we get another one anyway, so if they're planning on blocking a 2/2 knight, then we might as well send in another one. I think that makes sense. Opponent just jumping. Nope, they're gonna trade for that knight. And then jump there. Makes sense. You wonder why Sparktooth does not have kicker? Usually boils down to that they don't want to add keywords unnecessarily. But yeah, they might as well have added kicker there. But they usually shy away from using keywords if it's just for a couple of cards, since that adds more complexity than is necessary. So opponent's in a bit of trouble here. Probably not gonna get an opportunity to use or take vengeance this game, since their opponent's playing defense. They got their own axe. It's good to know when we go to sideboarding. More rejuvenators, but we're just gonna equip this. Equip our knights. And get in there. Do we attack with the rejuvenator? Then block the 2/2. Yeah, so this makes sense, I think. They're forced to block both 4/2s now. And then we can move this onto the spider. I guess we could have moved it to the rejuvenator as well. But then we can equip the rejuvenator with the axe and have kind of 3 lethal creatures. Scholar of Stars does draw them a card. And Mirror Image, copying the Scholar, right? That's nice. And draw another card. So now we can equip Rejuvenator. Attack with everyone, their opponent's still dead. Alright, so we essentially won this game on the back of our Sigil Sword. Didn't have to do much else. And Sir Spider got to live to tell the tale. So how do we want to sideboard? Opponent did have 2 Scholars, so I'm assuming Naturalize is going to be okay. They were playing blue, so Plummet could also be okay. They also had the Dragon. Don't think we need the Oaken Form. So if we make room for Plummet and Naturalize, could just take out to take Vengeance. If we assume we're gonna be the beatdown, which may or may not be the case. And then one more cut. I guess 3 Rejuvenators is a bit much in our deck where we don't really have a lot of expensive cards, so I could see cutting 1. Yeah, I think our deck, definitely far from perfect, could have used more expensive cards to ramp into, since we have lots of Rejuvenators and a Druid of the Cowl, but not a ton to ramp into. So maybe taking the Druid of the Cowl over the second Vigilant Baloth was unnecessary, since could have definitely used the second Vigilant Baloth. And this hand seems fine. Turn 2 Druid, turn 3 Giant Spider. Alright, Omen Speaker's pretty good. Could be that when we take out the white sources, we only need to play one Foul Orchard, since we might not need the mana fixing from the second one. Alright, one top, one bottom. So yeah, this time the Giant Spider is gonna have a hard time making any great attacks. Monolith, opponent ramping. Could naturalize here, since the Monolith might also be a source of mana fixing for the opponent. And it's not like the Giant Spider is gonna be attacking anytime soon. So I don't mind using the naturalize here. Just main phase it. The other option is just to play the guide. Then our opponent's just gonna play a Scholar of Stars. So yeah, let's just get this out of here. We're off to a pretty slow start, hoping to find one of our equipment at some point to push through these Omen Speakers. I guess we prefer to play the Kirapur guide. And the ability could definitely be relevant here. Alright, and there's a dragon. So I don't mind trading the guide for the dragon. Yeah, I'll offer the trade. I doubt our opponent's gonna trade the dragon for the guide here. But we definitely would like the guide to survive, since the ability is definitely relevant. And I guess if it dies, we still have a Macabre Waltz to get it back, so... Alright. Electrify on the spider. That's fine. Still only one creature in the graveyard so far. And there's a skeleton. So I think we attack with the guide. Play skeletons, say go. The other option is to activate the guide to prevent the Omen Speaker from blocking. Could use it on the druid. I guess that's okay. Just push through as much damage as possible. And I'll keep at least one land in hand for the Macabre Waltz, but I'll play one more. Oof. That was a good one. Opponent gets to copy their dragon. And they get to pay the 3 to kill our guide. Alright, at least now the Macabre Waltz is looking good, but we're gonna fall behind to these dragons. Wait, what? Did I not click on the guide as well? Oh boy. Looks like we misclicked and didn't get to return the guide. Oh well. That's unfortunate. I'm pretty sure I clicked on both, but the game has been a little bit laggy as of late, so that probably didn't help. Sure Strike on the dragon. Alright, so I don't think the fact that we missed on the guide is gonna end up mattering too much, as we're just gonna die to these flyers. I'll give it one more turn here. Alright, so this time around we didn't get to win the game with our equipment. Opponent's deck looks solid. Yeah, M19 is gonna have a little impact on standard, but definitely not as big as recent stats. So yeah, we're just dead here. Let's concede and go to game 3. So Plummet is definitely justified, but we already brought that in. And then the Naturalize, I'm not sure if it was amazing there, but we did see our opponent had 2 Scholar of Stars in their deck, so I'm gonna assume it's gonna be okay. And then I didn't really see anything else we want. Could get greedy and try to splash Arcadis, but I don't think that's gonna be necessary. And I think I'm gonna cut 1 Foul Orchard just for an extra basic, since 2 might not be necessary. Alright, let's try this. And hope to find one of our equipment, since those are kind of the cards we need to make our smaller creatures relevant. Alright, let's have a look. Alright, there's the equipment, so definitely gonna keep. This card's gonna win us the game single-handedly. At least that's what we're hoping for. Opponent could have brought in some artifact removal after sideboard. Something like a Smelt, I would not be surprised to see. So, I don't think there's a point playing the sword. We'll see. If we hit a land drop, that's gonna change our decision, since if we find a land, then we could go sword into spider into equip spider. Alright, I guess we'll naturalize that. Alright, did not find a land, so definitely playing the Rejuvenator here. Hoping to hit a land. And sure. So Poison Tip Archer on the bottom. Opponents got all their colors. And Enigma Drake. Alright, we do have the Plummets in the deck. So now what? We could go Giant Spider, hope to find a land next turn, or we can just play the sword right now and then be able to equip it next turn and attack. I think we play the sword and say go. And then hope they didn't have something like a Smelt to answer it. Alright, Scholar's fine. Can still attack into it with the Rejuvenator, so don't mind our spot here. And we even get to... oh, never mind, that's 3 mana, so yeah, just gonna equip here and attack. Thing that beats anything else we can do. And our opponents might trade for the Scholar. That's fine, then we can equip the Knight next turn, keep going. But more likely they're just gonna eat the Knight, which makes sense. I guess this didn't accomplish... this did not accomplish a whole lot. I forgot their opponent could just block our Knight with a Scholar there. Alright, so equipping and attacking was probably not great here. Should have just played our Giant Spider or Basilisk. At least we're forcing the Scholar to stay back. Divination. Now the Drake has 1 power, so definitely don't want to be attacking with the Rejuvenator now. Yeah, I got a little too excited to equip our sword and attack there. Was not really thinking clearly. Opponent could have Essence Scatter up, we didn't see it in the previous 2 games, so I don't think we play around it and we just jam this Dreadmaw. Alright, resolves. And we'll say go. And then next turn we have a few options on how to proceed. Alright, opponent says go. So we could equip the Dreadmaw and attack, but I don't think that's necessary here. Let's see, our opponent did have a Sure Strike. So Sure Strike would give the Enigma Drake essentially 4 additional power, but still not enough to take down the Dreadmaw by itself. So I think we just attack with the Dreadmaw, and then we can play Spider plus Basilisk. Opponent could also have something like a bounce spell here for the Dreadmaw, in which case equipping would have also been pretty bad. Alright, opponent takes it. We'll play Basilisk. And then play a Spider, and then we can start moving around the equipment to make better attacks. Alright, did our opponent do nothing with 5 mana? Or are they gonna end of turn something? Alright, opponent just wasted 5 mana, that's interesting. They might have had a plan that didn't work out. Omen Speaker. Alright, so let's try and figure out how we want to move this Sigiled Sword. Opponent's got 5 mana up again. I think we put the sword on the Basilisk. Could also put it on the Giant Spider, I suppose. Yeah, maybe putting it on the Giant Spider makes sense, since the Basilisk can attack anyways, and the Spider would just get blocked by the Scholar, or the Drake, or the Omen Speaker. And now, by equipping the sword on the Spider, it's a relevant attacker. Basilisk can still attack, Dreadmaw can still attack, and if they somehow kill one of our creatures, we can still cast a Waltz this turn. Alright, so let's make an attack here, see what happens. They could still have the Sure Strike and kill the Giant Spider with the Enigma Drake using Sure Strike. But then they're not killing the Dreadmaw, so I think that's okay. So let's attack. Make a Knight. So our opponent can eat our Knight token. Trade for the Basilisk, unless they have a trick here. And a chum block on Omen Speaker. Alright, they did have the Sure Strike. Makes sense. So our opponent's down to 8. Enigma Drake's gone. Yeah, let's Waltz here. Get back both creatures, I think. Hope we clicked on both this time around. Alright, we did. And then discard Druid of the Cowl. Say go. Scholar of Stars, just as a 3-2. And Mirror Image copying. Scholar of Stars. Alright, that's fine. Ooh, this is exciting. So let's equip Dreadmaw. I could have maybe waited on the Waltz to get back the Dreadmaw in case that died, but it seemed mana efficient to play it last turn. So we could just Strangling Spores the Scholar here so they can't keep blocking our Knights, but I think I want to just ambush their Scholars if they try and double block the Dreadmaw. And ensure they get to kill our Knight, but they still take a ton of trample damage. And they lose both Scholars. Alright, interesting attack. Not sure what to make of this. I guess it's our opponent's way of conceding. Alright, let's get in there. So, while the Sigiled Sword definitely won us the first game, I don't think we necessarily needed it for this game, since our opponent just killed all our knight tokens with a Scholar. But it definitely helped. And looks like we've got some lag. Alright, we got there. Somehow we're up to 4 wins. So we get to battle it out for the last one here. Did not think our deck was amazing, but do have some removal, decent curve, and those equipment have also been pretty important. Any tips for drafting M19? This is the first draft I've done, but from the looks of it, it seems pretty centered around having those kind of bombs that win the game by themselves, and of course, don't get to choose whether you open those or not. This hand seems fine. The same rules as most formats apply. Try to take as much removal as possible, have a decent curve, take flyers. And sideboard cards, especially like Plummet and Naturalize, seem pretty important, since when the power level is so low, one flyer can win the game. Having a sideboard card like Plummet can be pretty valuable, same with Naturalize. So don't overlook those if you're playing sideboarded games, that is. This is hopefully gonna just be a sword game where we get to sword them to victory, but we'll see. Not sure if we're gonna run it out on turn 3 or if we play the Hard Blade first. Think we go with the Hard Blade. Since if they haven't played anything so far, they likely have a pretty big blocker coming up which can just eat the 2/2 knights. So we'd rather develop our board first, so we can maybe equip the Hard Blade instead of the Sentinel, in case they have a creature we can't attack past with a Sentinel, but can attack past with a Blade. Something like a Baloth. Skeleton Archer, pretty good. 4 mana 3/3, pings 1. Alright, so now I think we offer the trade for the Hard Blade, since we kind of want to get rid of it, since it blocks our 2/2 knights. And then we'll play the sword over a Walking Corpse. Yeah, the little scorpion's new. Kind of freaked me out the first time I saw it. So next turn we could equip the Sentinel. We'll see what they do here. Thornhide Wolves. Alright, so we can still attack with the Hard Blade. But they can eat 2/2 knight tokens. We cannot cast as Murder, so pretty straightforward. And we could also send the Sentinel. I think that makes sense, since we're getting a 2/2 knight token that's attacking anyway, and it's the same value as the Sentinel, and if the opponent blocks here, then at least they take 2 more. So I think it makes sense to attack with everyone. Opponent's down to 8. Rock's Oracle is a good one. 4/2, they get to draw a card, and our opponent needs to assess whether they can afford to attack or not. They stay back, which I think is good for us, since we have time to draw our lands, and then we can wait until we can play the Archer before we start making any reckless attacks. So, haven't drawn many lands this game. Meteor Golem. Yep. Opponent gets to kill our sword. That's a good one. One of the few cards that people play main deck to answer the sword. Wolves gets in there. Could double block, but that seems bad when we potentially have the archer coming up. Alright. Let's play archer, Sego. Although I guess we could just attack with the 3/2s here. Yeah, that's actually fine. And if they trade, they lose a bunch of life to the archer. Opponent might also have something like a Macabre Waltz in hand that they want to be able to play here. Opponent makes some trades, but they take a lot of damage, down to 4. If we draw a second black source, that would be nice. Two-headed zombie, that's okay. An attack with the wolves. Sure. Still get to drain them for 1. And that's a good draw too. And if our opponent has to trade away their 4-drops for our Knight token, that's great. They decide to go to 1. Play a Baloth, Sego. Alright, so kinda doing it. Alright, got the GGs. Sweet. So it looks like just a green-black deck with some creatures, nothing fancy going on. So I think the Take Vengeance is probably going to be fine. Don't see a reason to plummet. Could make an argument for Oakenform if it's just going to be a battle of power and toughness. But I don't think it's necessary. I like our skeleton. I like all our cheap creatures. Rejuvenator seems good. So I think we just run it back. And then wait and see if we need to adjust for game 3. So this could be the last game of this draft, which has been pretty successful, all things considered. Don't think we want to keep a 1-lander even on the draw, despite the Rejuvenator. Alright, we'll keep this, and then try and scry for more lands. Yep, that'll do it. Both mulligan to 6. So we've got a turn 3 Higher Blade, hopefully turn 4 Archer. And then we need to find some fodder for this Blood Divination, since I don't want to sacrifice either of those two. The axe is going to be good as well, I think. Alright, two-headed zombie, sure. Alright, opponent's got 5 mana, so we're definitely behind on lands here. So hopefully they don't play anything too scary. Although they're thinking, so they have some options. Finding white mana would be great, but any 4th land would be acceptable. Alright, so I guess we just discard the 2 cards we're less likely to be able to play here. So that was a good mind rot. But now just any 4th land is good. Opponent's gonna play defense. Don't mind seeing that. And we found a land, so let's play the archer. Get in there. Opponent could have a pump spell here. Alright, fair enough. Rock's Oracle's a good one. Alright, so now what? I think we just attack with both Play Spider, or we could just attack with Walking Corpse, Play Spider, double block the zombie. If we attack with both, our opponent definitely blocks the archer. I've got a feeling if we just attack with the corpse, they take 2, and then maybe attack with both next turn. If they have a removal spell for one of our blockers, that would be bad. I think we try and race. Alright, Colossal Majesty, it's a good one. I think we equip over playing the Rejuvenator here. And do we move the equipment? I don't think we do. 0 points at 5. Hey, thanks for the Twitch Prime subscription. Acid Bath 94. Appreciate the support. And welcome to the Loyal Legion. 0 points getting card advantage from their enchantment now. Thornhide Wolves is going to play defense nicely. Alright, time to top deck a removal spell. Otherwise this Colossal Majesty is going to take over. Not quite. Lots of lands, at least, going to the bottom. That's good. And do we move the equipment? Suppose we could move it to the Rejuvenator. Not sure. I'll move it to the Rejuvenator, but I'm not 100% sure that's necessary. Alright. They have a Nightmarish Thirst. Anyway, alright. Good to know about for future games. So I don't think we want to bring in Naturalize just to answer this Majesty. It's the only enchantment or artifact we've seen so far. But it's definitely a card that can take over the game when there's a stall like this one. Skeleton Archer. Surprised they fired off the Nightmarish Thirst. I guess they drew it. They drew the Archer this turn, so that makes sense. Strangling Spores can take out the Archer, can attack him for 6, so they're forced to block. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Opponent's down to 4. So if we top deck a Murder and our opponent somehow doesn't play another creature, we could get there. Oof, Vivian's Invocation. I think that's gonna kill us. Yep. That's a pretty good one. And we're dead here. Alright, so I think we bring in Oakenform. Seems like a good one. Opponent hasn't played a single removal spell yet, except for the Nightmarish Thirst, so I think Oakenform should be in. Take Vengeance still seems like a good one. Vault seems good. Skeleton seems good. I like the equipment, the removal spells. Can maybe cut a Rejuvenator. Alright, let's try this. So for all the marbles, in game 3 of our last match. Alright, how about this hand on the play? It's a bit risky if we don't find a third land, but yeah, I believe. Oof, that was a timely draw. I think we play Rejuvenator over the Hired Blade here, just to make sure we keep hitting our lands. It's a close one. And then if we can jam a Baloth next turn, that would be great. Alright, perfect. I think we Baloth over playing Hired Blade and Walking Corpse. Opponent could have their own Hired Blade, I suppose, here. That's fine. Alright, maybe shouldn't have attacked there. We know our opponent has Titanic Growth, +4/+4. So that's something we'll have to keep in mind. Alright, so if we attack and have Titanic Growth, that would be unfortunate. If we Oaken Form and they have Titanic Growth, the growth would not be enough. It's a little risky if they have something like a Murder, but we haven't seen one in the first 2 games. So I'm gonna assume they don't have it. And worst case scenario, we still have the Waltz to get back the Baloth. Suppose they could have Titanic Growth plus the Nightmarish Thirst for the -1/-1, but that's still a fine trade. We would be trading 3 cards for, or 2 cards on our side for 3 cards on the opponent's side. Alright, let's see what happens. Opponent takes it, that's good news. Play Walking Corpse, say go. And hope they just don't have an answer for this Baloth. They didn't last turn, so they probably wanted to set up this Titanic Growth, which is why they kind of paused and thought for a second. So I'm pretty sure they have Titanic Growth in hand, which is good to know about. But now they might have to do something else, as they can't afford to do nothing for an entire turn cycle. Skeleton Archer is fine. Alright, let's get in with the Baloth. And then probably just want to try and go wide. I think I like Hired Blade more. Alright, opponent's got 6 mana, they could play a Dreadmaw here. Yep. This would be a good time to draw a removal spell. So we'll have to do some math here to see if we can attack with everyone or not. So if we attack with everyone, opponent could have 2 blocks where they go Dreadmaw, the Hired Blade, Corpse on Archer, and then just chump the Baloth. If we just attack with Baloth, opponent's gonna double block Dreadmaw and Archer, and we only get to kill the Dreadmaw. Still know about the potential Titanic Growth in their hand, or we could not attack and then just play a bunch of creatures and eventually attack with everyone in one big turn. It's also reasonable. And then here just play the Rejuvenator so we can ramp into Dreadmaw. Oof, we missed. That's unfortunate. Still not gonna waltz. Alright. Colossal Majesty. Alright, now we have a reason to attack with the Baloth, but now our opponent can keep up Titanic Growth, which is the issue. Yeah, at least we get to play Dreadmaw. So what's the play? I feel like we want to play Dreadmaw, say go, and then hope they don't draw 2 creatures next turn they can play. Since we're pretty sure they have a Titanic Growth in hand, which would make attacking with Baloth bad. So I think we just try and go wide, but it's going to be tricky if they draw 2 cards a turn and keep drawing creatures. Let's hope for the best. Obviously a removal spell for the Baloth would be game over. If we can find our own spot removal for the Dreadmaw. That would also be great. One of our better draws is also the Sigiled Sword, since that puts an extra attacker into play. Alright, main phase Hired Blade. Suspicious. Alright, so what happens if we attack with everyone here? But then we get to waltz back the Baloth, so I think we just send everyone. See what happens. Since the longer the game goes on, less likely we are to still win, because of the enchantment on the other side. So we'll see. Alright, Titanic Growth on their Dreadmaw is what I'm expecting. Nope, it's the Endurance instead. Alright, fair enough. So we get to waltz back Dreadmaw and Hired Blade. And then we get to discard a land and play a Basilisk. Say go. Opponent draws 2. Yeah, this has drawn them quite a few cards in the meantime. Thornhide Wolves. Yeah, it is not a May ability, so decking could actually be somewhat of a win condition. Alright, so what now? I mean, if we attack with Baloth, our opponent goes block block. And if we attack with the Basilisk as well, then they can just go double block Baloth here and then block Basilisk with the Archer. So I think we don't want to attack here, since they get to keep a 4-power creature in play anyway. So again, we just have to try and go wide, but it's so tricky when the opponent draws 2 cards a turn and their deck is all creatures. We just have to find a removal spell at some point so we can get rid of that Dreadmaw and make better attacks. Suppose I could have attacked with the Basilisk, since I was fine trading it for the Archer. Oof, Meteor Golem. Kills our Baloth. Yep. It's rough. Now I wished we had attacked with it, of course. Alright, that should do it. So if we attack with everyone, they either take damage or a creature dies and they take damage. And all their creatures kill our creatures. Alright, got the GGs. Sweet, that was a good top deck. So we got to complete the draft with the maximum number of wins. Sweet. So got the 5 wins, got more gems than we paid for, and 6 packs, so let's crack some packs. Nice, Deseret's a good one. And we got a rare wild card, nice. And a Lathless Dragon Queen. Cool, cool. Demon of Catastrophes, 6/6 Flying Trample. Alright, Arcadus. Could maybe build a deck around him at some point. Liliana's Contract. Also definitely a powerful card. Could build a deck around it with Arcane Adaptation. And a Dark Dweller Oracle. Hey, thanks for the bits, Dalster. Yep, it's getting pretty late. Probably gonna call it a day here too. But I want to thank everyone for hanging out. It's been a great stream. Our first look at M19 in Magic Arena. But for now, I want to thank everyone for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for supporting the channel, and you can do so yourself as well over at patreon.com/LegenVD, where you get cool rewards for supporting the channel, as well as getting us closer to our goals, where with every goal reached, we will release an additional weekly series. So if you want to see more content, Patreon is the place to go.